for the Midlands. In fact, South Carolina Emergency Management Division has us under OPCON 2, which raises the state's readiness. All of the state agencies preparing. We've talked about it for several days now. Just some of the preparations that are underway. SCDOT treating the roads, putting down some brine, also having different crews on standby ready to respond as we watch the snow continue to fall. It looks like here in Columbia right now, Sandra, we have a little bit of a lull, but there are other areas that are receiving a lot more snow.
Yeah, we can expect that through the day. Now, I think that we will see the intensity picking up from time to time by later this afternoon, but you can expect a little bit of a lull from time to time. But we have the cold air in place, and we have quite a bit of the moisture. In fact, if we can take a look at the radar real quickly, I just want to show you that we are seeing that light snow. Mainly, it looks like north of I-20, Camden, Winnsboro, also portions of Newberry County seeing that light snow as well. And again, it looks like we were seeing a little bit now extending into northern portions of Orangeburg County. So with that said, quite a number of us have seen some snow. If you haven't seen snow just yet, don't get too concerned, because we're likely going to see that snow as we go into later today. For I think everybody here in the Midlands has a pretty good chance at seeing some snowfall, so some good news there. But some of these areas have already seen some of that snow. So it feels like temperatures right now at this hour already down into the 20s. So we do have temperatures generally right around 30 degrees. We're below freezing. We have those temperatures generally around 30 degrees, but because we do have a little bit of a wind out there from time to time, and that is the case right now. And so it does feel like 24 in Columbia, it feels like 20 in Winnsboro, and it feels like 20 in Camden, and it feels like 22 in Lexington. So again, we are dealing with not just the snow that's likely going to be adding up as we go throughout the day, but also that chance for some very cold temperatures. Now it's going to be even more cold, or even colder, I should say, later tonight into tomorrow morning. So again, some of the areas where we're seeing some of that snow: Elgin, Pontiac, Blythewood, Winnsboro, up towards Bishopville as well. I believe Sumter reported some flurries late last night, and now it looks like they're seeing that chance for snow increasing again across their area.
Yeah, and we certainly appreciate everyone who's tuning in right now, and we will be taking some of your questions as we continue here. We've watched the snow start, at least in some of the northern areas of our viewing area. We had live shots earlier on from our Derek Rush, who was in Newberry, and we also had Inchsar Faulkner in Fairfield County in Winnsboro. Very beautiful scene up there so far. The snow that's falling isn't necessarily any of this packing snow per se. This is more of like the light and powdery mixture. Yeah. Although, Sandra, you mentioned how the temperatures are expected to plunge here before too long. Do we see any possible ice accumulation or anything whereby if the snow sticks around and it freezes, that could become a problem?
Yeah, and of course, like we're seeing some of the snow. One thing with the gusty winds, because it is such a powdery snow, if it does start to accumulate on, the sides of the roads, maybe the plows go through and clear it. But with those winds staying quite gusty from time to time, even through much of tomorrow, with the snow being kind of more powdery, it may blow it back out into the road. It may melt, as you have cars going over it. And, with temperatures tonight falling down into the middle teens, that's well below the freezing mark, 32 degrees. Sure. We're likely to see some icy spots on those roads for, by tomorrow morning. And certainly the case for that refreezing of any snow melt Sunday night into Monday morning, and also for Tuesday morning. May not see a lot of that snow melting Sunday afternoon, but we'll see some melting, and so that's likely going to lead to some icy spots on roads by Monday morning, and then that's going to be a concern, I think, as well for Tuesday morning, because we'll see a lot more of that snow melting Monday afternoon. We'll see those temperatures in the 40s. We'll have a lot of sunshine, but we're falling back down into the mid-20s again for Tuesday morning.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So maybe some blowing and drifting snow, especially as that wind picks up. And again, the temperatures are going to be extremely cold as we head overnight into tomorrow. So definitely take the proper precautions. If you haven't already, make sure that maybe your faucets outside, that they have some sort of insulation on them. and just make the proper preparations inside your home too. You know, maybe open up those cabinet doors. Make sure that you're
allow some of that warmer air to get to those pipes underneath
always
the sinks.
important.
Yeah, you know, that always helps. You know, just dripping it just a little bit, you know, helps as well. And, you know, especially if you have any pipes that are like on that outer wall of your house, then they're, you know, more susceptible to possibly bursting. And certainly if you've ever had problems with that in the past, you definitely want to take the precautions this time around.
Okay, so Sandra, as we move through the day in particular, again, we're under a winter storm warning. When do we anticipate perhaps the heaviest snow to be falling?
Well, I think as we get into the afternoon, we should have an upper level low that's going to swing in, so that's going to give us more lift, and so allow for some higher snowfall rates, I think. So I think for this afternoon, you know, into tonight, so, you know, some heavier snow bands may set up. It's hard to pinpoint exactly where those will be, but again, it is, you know, looking like we could see that, and that's where we could see those isolated higher snowfall amounts.
Okay, and Sarah May has probably the most important question. Are we going to be able to build a snowman with it? You know, something tells me you might have a pretty good chance.
Yeah, you know, especially for us here in South Carolina, we don't get the opportunity very often, and it may not be an ideal consistency if it was just a little bit wetter, maybe not, you know, quite so fluffy. It might stick together a little bit more so, but, you know, go ahead and take a shot at it, I think, because, you know, at least we're getting enough snow that it's not going to be like that dirty snow or, you know, it has grass in it or something like that, you know, which is, you know, if you get like just a couple of inches, but if you're getting more than that, then you should be able to, it's not the ideal consistency, but, you know, I would say it's worth giving it a shot.
Yeah, Frosty can look a little rough with the clumps of grass and
with some water, get to stick together.
Yes, but that's exactly what you want to do, is maybe just add a little water to that snow mix, and that'll get it packed.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's great for making snow angels.
Oh yeah,
and also it'll be a lot easier to get off your car. And, you know, also it'll be a lot easier to shovel out a driveway.
That's right. And we want to see all of your photos and all of your videos of how you're enjoying the snow, or at least what conditions look like in your area. You can send it to WIS10 via our app, or on our website you'll see the tab where it says send us pics, and you can send your pictures there. Okay, Dan Quirk, thank you so much for joining us. What is the current projected snow total for Columbia? And Sandra, I think you're saying what, about 4 to 7 inches perhaps?
Yeah, right in that range. We could see 4 to 7 inches. You know, we've already seen a little bit of snow, you know, light snow. We can see it falling, you know, and it does look like it has accumulated on the grassy areas, maybe not so much the roads. The roads, you know, you know, they stay
still
relatively warmer. Yeah. And especially if cars going, you know, across them, which, you know, eventually that will change. Eventually they will cool down enough to where we'd have that concern for slick roads out there.
Yeah. No, I mean, those grassy areas, maybe untreated areas or areas that are colder, they are definitely the areas where that snow is going to gather. We appreciate everyone who's tuning in. I'm going to see here. Let's see what people are writing. Okay, so somebody else asking, I'm looking here, Lizzie Sanders, when will it start back up? It stopped in South Congaree. So, you know, it's probably going to be intermittent at certain times. Like, I imagine that sometimes it will be heavier, other times it may kind of taper off. But, you know, I think when we're looking at the South Congaree area in particular, it just kind of comes and goes. What do you think, Sandra?
Yeah, you know, there's going to be some lulls from time to time, and you know, we're seeing, I think right now, the snow kind of, you know, north of I-20. We're seeing a little bit of snow dipping down, you know, just south of I-20 in eastern Richland County, it looks like, right around Eastover. But yeah, you will see some lulls in the snow from time to time. But we have plenty more moisture on the way. That area of low pressure sitting offshore, it's actually supposed to strengthen. You know, so again, you know, don't worry, you'll have more snow coming in. Later this morning, if not later this morning, this afternoon and tonight.
It's on its way. We have Alice, who said that it was snowing in Red Bank and Lexington, but has stopped, and wondered if they're going to get any more accumulation. I would say that, you definitely will.
Don't be disappointed if it stops snowing, because we've got that high snow chance, you know, for the Midlands all through the day into tonight. In fact, the snow chances really don't drop out of the forecast until we get closer to right around midnight.
Okay, and you know, one thing that we were saying too, on a day like today, he says, let's see, this is Christy Goff Eastler says, since it's a dry snow, is that better for road conditions. And, you know,
I think initially.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but the Department of Transportation, they'll be out treating those roads, and so that lowers the freezing temperature, which is some good news. However, our temperatures tonight will be already down into the middle teens. With that said, because of the winds, it could blow that dry, powdery snow back out into the road, and cars going over it will, kind of smush it down, or it will likely become wet and likely
more of like a slush.
Yeah, refreeze later tonight. It's I guess a double-edged sword.
That's right. That's right. Well, for those who are watching this, we certainly appreciate it. Of course, we're going to have updates throughout the day. And we've been saying it, it's one of those types of days where you can just kind of stay inside, maybe send the kids out to enjoy watching the snowfall. Why not? But in the meantime, maybe do some cooking, baking around the house, and, get a blanket and a coffee. And snowing in Camden, says Janet.
You.
Yes.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those types of days. But of course, WIS is going to be here for you throughout the duration of the snow event.
All throughout the event.
That's right. Yep. Again, winter storm warning in effect. And then, as we say, it is going to get extremely cold overnight, so make sure that you're taking the proper precautions and that you stay warm and you stay safe.
Yeah, in fact, the National Weather Service has issued that extreme cold warning because the conditions are going to get so cold, and we've got the actual air temperatures I mentioned earlier in the middle teens, but you factor in the winds that will still be gusting more than 20 miles per hour. It could feel tomorrow morning. I know the kids may want to run out the door to play in the snow, but it could feel to exposed skin as cold as maybe a couple of degrees below zero.
And, at that point, any sort of prolonged exposure to the elements, definitely not advised, especially if you're not wearing gloves or hat. I mean, make sure that you are bundled up if you're going to be heading outside.
Plenty of those indoor breaks. Come in, warm up some cocoa.
That's right.
Dry off.
Yeah, always a good idea. But Sandra, we appreciate it. Of course, we're going to be checking in with you throughout the morning. You and Vaughn have it held down here for a little while. And of course, we have our crews that are spread out throughout the Midlands, giving you an idea of what the conditions are like in those areas. And, our meteorologists, our weather team is on this. Our First Alert weather team forecasted this several days ago. We've been watching it ever since, and y'all have done a great job. And, of course, throughout the day, we'll be getting updates from you.
Yeah, have the First Alert weather app if you haven't already downloaded it. It is really just a great resource to have, and I'm not just saying that because I'm part of the First Alert weather team, but it really is. There's a QR code on the screen. Just point your camera at it if you haven't already downloaded it. We send video forecast updates from each meteorologist. This is a personal forecast that we send out. This is not generated by a computer algorithm or anything like that. We send out these video forecasts to give you updates because, the forecast, it may change. And so we want to let you know. And so we let you know about that. We also let you know about any alerts or advisories that are issued for your area. And, that gets it to you first. We have those notifications for you. And then also there's a live radar on there that you can look at, the snow headed in your direction. You may be looking out your window and saying, well, it stopped snowing here. Well, you can look at the live radar and see that you've got some snow headed in your direction. So the snow will be picking up again. So you don't have to be too concerned that it's over for you just yet. But again, it's just a really great resource to have. And on that First Alert weather app, you can go, you can scroll down. It says submit your photos to us. And I know there's going to be a lot of fun photos, maybe later today and certainly tomorrow. And you can submit those to us. And we'd love to get those on the air. Leave your name and also where you're sending it from with the picture, where the city and the town is, and we'll get that on the air for you.
Yep. I got a text from my wife earlier today saying that our youngest, Eli, who is already heading out, bright and early to get some action in the snow. Right, and it's less than an inch that's fallen so far. So we appreciate that. So. All of those photos we, are definitely enjoying here at the station, just seeing how everyone is kind of making it through, weathering this winter storm. And, the thing is we just don't see it that often here. It is somewhat.
It is a rare treat.
Yeah.
I was looking back at some numbers, and there were snowstorms. Well, we had the snow last year, back in January of 2025, and you know, around an inch, I think, less than an inch
Sure.
in a lot of areas that did see it. But then in 2022, I think out at the airport recorded 2 inches
Yeah,
of snowfall.
that's about right.
And then after that, I think it was 2014, there was several inches of snow reported across much of the Midlands. And then after that, it was like 2011. So you know, it's a rare treat.
It is, and especially pretty heavy accumulations. It's interesting, you know, anything over, I would say, about 6 inches. A lot of folks who have been here for a while always point back to that storm from 1973. They say it was just like a foot of snow fell here. You know, and we might have a storm here at least that has pretty significant accumulations. Nothing quite like that per se, but still.
Yeah, and I will say that because it is a fluffy, you
Yeah.
know, kind of, you know, drier snow, that's why the accumulations are a little bit higher.
Sure.
Than, you know, because if it was a compact snow,
That's right.
then, you know, it'd be lower.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be up to 4 to 7 or 5 to 8 farther north you go.
All right. Well, you know, we're going to keep an eye on this First Alert Weather Day, both for today, tomorrow, and Monday, as we continue to watch the winter weather impact the Midlands. We have you covered top to bottom here at WIS. We've got our crews, again, across the area, and we're monitoring this storm minute by minute, hour by hour, all those updates on your First Alert Weather app. But for now, we're going to sign off, and we'll be back on in just a short period of time here on WIS, WIS TV.